Funding for Intersections is brought to you by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Jimmy, what's happening? My name is Al Sands. I am known as the Haitian Temptation, a professional boxer. So we are here at Front Street Training Center here in Barnum, Minnesota. So growing up, I played every sport out there. I played hockey, soccer, we did football, state and track and field. I was a long jumper and a triple jumper. I just love this sport. It's given me a confidence that I never really grew up with, and it's given me the ability to be the best version of myself and put that on display for many people. With my past life experience, nothing's been easy. Nothing's ever been concrete. So I was adopted at 18 months from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, to East Duluth area. Things were not easy. Growing up in East Duluth as a person of color, you're kind of a raisin in a bowl of Cheerios, if you will. And a lot of people don't understand some of the social things that you go through being that person in East Duluth. I can't tell you how many times I've had the police called on me just for walking to a friend's house from a very early age. So I mean, that's kind of traumatic at times. Once we got to about middle school, I was put in my first foster home. When you're young, you don't understand why that is, but now that I'm older, I have a bit of a better grasp on it. And I've come to understand myself, like, there's not always bad kids. There's just kids that have a different experience, you know? Give them the chance to be the best that they can be. Show them different things they can experience, you know, in life, and whether it's work experience or maybe just a different way of doing things, you know. I was very, very fortunate to be in a foster home in Floodwood. My foster father, he was my football coach, he was a basketball coach, and paid very good attention to everything that was going on. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. Best thing that could have happened to me. Now that I'm a father myself, I couldn't think of a better place to move back to. Then once I hit college, I was at Lake Superior College, and they didn't have a sports program at the time. They had a gym. At the time, my roommate, he was very interested in boxing. Bernard Hopkins, we'd always watch B-Hop fight.
1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2, come on.
I got you.
I thought, you know, maybe I could do that, you know? So I went to the gym and I just, I loved the workout. I loved the adrenaline release. I love the aspects of strength training and speed training and calisthenics and things like that. I'd go into the sport, I loved the training for that thing. Didn't think to myself I'd ever compete, but I just thought, this is awesome. I feel great when I leave. Then I sparred for the first time and whew, yeah, that was an eye-opener. It's a totally different game when you start sparring. After I got a little bit of experience, I thought, you know, let's try this. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that's gonna happen, you know? Traveled the world multiple times, been to different countries, been a part of multiple world-class training camps. Minnesota is where we train. And it's really been a fun opportunity and a really fun experience to go through a lot of these things. I'm also a personal trainer. I'm a kettlebell coach. I have all of these other personal training aspects to, I guess, my training. That's really made it kind of secondhand to build your body up mentally and physically before you even step into that ring. Shoulders feel good and everything, but nothing compares to this. Because you're also battling how much energy you got in your tank, efficiency of movement.
Yep.
So many different finer points in the sport, I love it.
Heck yeah.
I started coaching almost immediately. I want to say I had my first fight and I started coaching right away. Because of my background in personal training and strength training, things like that, I have a lot of that knowledge already in there. I'd take some of the kids out to our field and we'd flip tires, we'd throw medicine balls, and we'd do all kinds of agility drills, and nobody else was doing it. It didn't make sense to me. My thing with the youth and my mentorship and things like that is so that they don't go through that. Me being adopted, raised in foster care, things like that, I never really had a solid base. Sometimes I've had kids that have had some experiences in life and they run to the gym. First place they go, because they know I'm gonna be there and they know I'll have a conversation with them, help them calm down. And it's really, when you have those kind of experiences as a coach, it really solidifies your place and I guess your community. And knowing that you have kids that have no experience with you, but they trust you to have that conversation and things like that. It's really, really been an eye-opener for me to be a coach and to be a mentor and be that solid figure, and some of the kids like that might not have that solid base. I never had it, so I can empathize with them, and I can tailor my conversation with them to let them know I get it. They're very surprised that I actually understand what they're saying. There's some kids, they see what I've accomplished and what I've done and where I've gone, and they're like, oh, you came from all that? Really? Yep. I'm still right here. I'm still doing good, so you can go do good too. That's kind of my thing. Just because it started, maybe in a negative or less advantageous place, doesn't mean that's the way it's got to stay. Steve Prefontaine, he said, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. I never had a lot, but I'll be damned if I don't give my best. And it's great to see how things have turned out afterwards. I live by that philosophy. Do your best. Every time. And you'll never be disappointed with the result.
My name is Meredith Kujala. I was born and raised for the first 10, 11 years in Illinois. Then I moved to Ohio. I am a PR manager for Northern Lakes Rescue, which Northern Lakes Rescue is a foster-based dog rescue throughout the state of Minnesota. In the last year and a half to 2 years, we have had over 55 dogs, foster dogs in our home. I think our biggest enjoyment with that is raising those puppies and seeing, their potential, and then meeting these families who are super excited, to have a dog. And Hazel actually is the first one that we fostered through Northern Lakes Rescue. My fiance and I have been raised with dogs. We've had dogs our whole life. Northern Lakes does provide a lot of resources for people who don't have experience with dogs or might need some brush-up skills. Hey, Princey, sit. Prince, sit. Thank you. His full name is Princeton Royal Sherman. He was named after our Minnesota artist Prince because he was born on the day Prince died, and he thinks he's royalty himself. And anytime we bring in a new foster dog, he kind of gives us this look like, oh great, another one? You're bringing another one in. Ajax is through Northern Lakes Rescue as well. He was found in the woods as a little puppy. We brought him in our home to foster. We were not planning to adopt him one bit. We fell in love with his personality, so he is now part of our pack. He has come so far, and when he is in his regular element with his people and no distractions, he's super fun. He loves to play and run. And then if you turn the corner, there's a litter right here. Mama, you're okay. She's sassy. So this is Bonnie and the Griswolds. All the puppies are named after Griswold characters, and they'll be 3 weeks old. Mama is already adopted. We just have to wait till she's done weaning. And 2 of the puppies have already been adopted too. Just gotta wait till they're old enough. This weekend, a family drove 3.5 hours to pick out their puppy. And they were here for over 3 hours, just, oohing and eyeing over the puppies. And, it's an awesome feeling. It really is. A, because it's a passion of mine and my family's, and it's something that we unite about. And B, these dogs have nowhere else to go sometimes, and they need help, and we need to spread more awareness. There are millions of dogs out there that need homes. I am a person that identifies with multiple disabilities, both physical and mental. You know, growing up, I would say before my teen years, I really didn't think anything of it. You know, it's something that I have, I've been born with. It's not every day that you see somebody with dwarfism. You know, we aren't that common. And so I think as I got older and I was just more aware of my surroundings and people seeing me, it then started affecting me a little bit more about how I am different. And, you know, I think that hit right around my teen years. And, you know, when you're going through puberty and all that, you're already going through emotions. So, you know, that was a little struggle for me, you know, mentally just, you know, figuring myself out in the world. But really took it as, you know, yep, I have it, but I can't do anything about it. So I gotta, you know, make the best of it. I was raised with the concept of I can do it, I just might have to do it differently. So I kind of took that and kind of moved forward and really, you know, taking it when people are, you know, giving me those looks or, you know, questioning, taking that as an educational time and talking about disability awareness. I am a social worker. I work for ARC Northland as their Adult, Child, and Family Services Director. The mission that they have and the work that they do sparked me. I just love it because they serve individuals with disabilities, and as a person myself with a disability, you know, I think that's huge, and I want to help support that mission. With ARC Northland, a couple of the major things that I do is I do school advocacy, where I'm in the schools working with families and students who receive special education or that are on 504 plans, and making sure that they are getting the adequate services that you know, is outlined in their state plans, and making sure that, you know, they're getting equal access and accessibility to things. So oftentimes I am meeting with both parents and the schools separately and then together to make sure that we're all on the same page and everybody is doing what's best for the student. We cover 8 different counties throughout the state. I could be anywhere in one day, from up the shore in 2 harbors to down to Pine City. I also do a lot of work with adults with various disabilities by facilitating a self-advocacy group called People First. That's a group we meet a couple times a month, work on inclusion in the community, getting their name out there, working on various, you know, barriers they see as people with disabilities and barriers in the community that they have personally or as a group. Just because somebody is different doesn't mean, you know, they should not have equal access or be included in their community. I mean, I realize some people, they have to take one job at a time or one passion at a time, but I can't. I just want to, you know, do as much as I can with each passion. I'm a firm believer, if I want to do it, I better do it now. I'm only one person, but I can still make a difference. I can't sit down and watch frustrations happen or barriers happen without trying to fix it, because I can't sit and complain about them if I'm not trying to fix them.
My name is Serrano Robinson, and my title here is Boys Restorative Program Coordinator, or I like to say Youth Restorative Program Coordinator. Right now we're at Menace Peacemakers, physically located in downtown Duluth. This organization does like one of multiple things. One is that we repair the harm that already exists in our community. Another thing that we do is we provide preventative work. And when you think about primary prevention, in our agency, we're trying to prevent more violence and more sexual violence towards women and children. We're trying to ultimately prevent that. So we have programs that actually help us lead down those paths of helping to prevent violence, but we also have programs that help us address right then and there and repair violence as well too. So my part of this process falls in the place of preventative. I work with young youth, ages 8 to 12, basically challenging that messaging, challenging that we are all actually connected and that we all here together, and also having those conversations that do arise. Youth success and youth restoration is not always about academic success. It's about the whole thing. It's about like all 4 of the seasons, not just school. It's about outside of school, family, support, the whole thing. So with youth, we provide that support, we provide that programming that literally lets them challenge toxic behaviors. And we also talk about what it means to have like healthy behaviors around each other, consent, boundaries, and things like that. We actually do our programs at each school in the physical locations. The youth, they'll come with their lunch trays, they'll come sit down with us, and we'll have a whole day of activities, discussions, snacks, and plans and stuff for them to do as well too. So before this, I was working at a Bethany crisis shelter, which was really, really cool. I think that was actually where I learned like a lot of like my social and emotional skills from. It's out in Morgan Park, Duluth. It literally is a placement shelter for young youth, literally 0 to 17. And I always say literally because we had like a 2-week-old baby, like barely fit her in like my hand. You're there every day though, like in person with youth from 0 to 17. So if you're 0 to 5, you're literally changing diapers, you're literally taking kids to school, you're literally teaching 2-year-olds ABCs, you're literally teaching them how to cope with emotions, you're teaching them how to be with other youth that age. If they're 5 to 10, you're teaching them how to go to school, how to get dressed, how to brush their teeth, how to be like social, emotionally like present. And then if they're older, if they're teens, you're teaching them how to go. You're taking them to school, you're homework helping with them, you're teaching them those deeper emotions as we get older and they become more complicated. You're supporting them that people really love them. So I was at the crisis center for a whole year. So NYS is Neighborhood Youth Services. It's in Duluth as well. When it's a place where youth can come to play games, they can come there like to get homework help. They go there like until parents get home as well. Acknowledging that for a lot of parents and a lot of people like in our community, when the kids are at school, that's like the prime time for the parent to be at work. But school and work are out at 2 different times. So Neighborhood Youth Services works as a platform to be there for the youth like almost around the clock. Whenever the youth come in from school, they help them with the homework. They'll literally give them dinner, food, and then they'll play games, have activities already lined up, basketball, learning experiences. I've also volunteered at the Valley Youth Center, which is also in Duluth. That one is at the bottom of an elementary school, Lower Mac Elementary School. And that is also just another place. I think I've been grown to love like places that just support the youth, especially like after school, and understanding that it's not just about the school. When people think about New York and like Minnesota, for me it was a platform or landing space. But I got engulfed in what I was raised into. Kind of like a product of your environment, people say. Growing up in the Bronx, New York, it was really hard. So I kind of leaned towards like gangs, I leaned towards like violence, I leaned towards not going to school. I leaned towards everything that made me comfortable for the moment. I didn't really talk to nobody about what I was going through. I didn't talk to anybody about like not having support. But for me, it was a negative. It was going down a negative route. So this is in 2000 and probably like 11. I was in like the 10th or 11th grade. That was the age that I just stopped going to school. And so my mom found out, so she had to find out like basically like 3 to 6 months later on a report card. Me seeing her hurt, like mixed with her being upset in general, is probably the big reason why I moved here. Once she found that out, it was like probably like a week to 2, all within that decision making to have me move from the Bronx, New York to Barnum, Minnesota. I moved to a place where me and my cousins were the only black people. So from 16 to 18, I was really just trying to like finish high school. But then after that, like I hit a part in my life where I simply just wanted to help people. I really didn't know how, I didn't know what I was gonna do, but a whole part of me was like, I wanna help people. Whatever I'm gonna do is gonna be with people, it's gonna work with people. So the reason why I stayed was to try to find that avenue to work with people. Because once I got out of high school, I immediately went into college for a year. And then early, because I started my work around like 20, 21. So early on in my life, like I found the platform for working with youth. And that is a real reason why I'm here today.
Learning to be a man is a complex, often contradictory thing. Don't reveal weakness or emotion, but make sure your kids know you love them. A lot of what men learn is tied up with violence.
Succeed at all costs.
Be aggressive.
Protect your sister and your mother.
Never walk away from a fight and always win it.
The initial history of this organization, and it started off like just a bunch of like straight white guys basically wanted to be more a part of the solution rather than the violence, if that makes sense. A lot of people get confused and they think we're only like, men only work here, but the truth behind the name is that men should and men need to be more a part of peacemaking, more a part of solutions of violence, and not just being a part of the violence itself.
I think historically in Western culture, we go back a lot of hundreds, if not a couple thousands of years, in which we look at male dominance in Western culture. And it's kind of in the air we breathe, practically. We're born as males, for example, we're kind of born into a culture that celebrates kind of our power, our privilege, the kinds of things that we have access to as males, and we never have to think about.
Do boys and men have to be more aggressive?
What are the positive things to celebrate about being a boy or a man?
Why do we have such a hard time knowing and showing what we feel?
What are men most afraid of?
When do you feel like hitting someone or something?
Does what we learn about being male make violence more acceptable for men?
I've personally been doing this for about 5 years. I kind of stumbled upon it. I didn't really know what MAP was beforehand. I was working with the youth in a different setting, and I was just looking for a more consistent, a more full-time job at the time. So I specifically was just looking for more youth development opportunities, which MAP really was one of those. So we teach them a lot about like just social emotions, like how to understand people's emotions, how to be aware of your emotions first of all, and how to know that people are okay being emotional, right? It's okay to be upset, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be happy, it's okay to be insecure. We have open, and I mean open conversations about race and gender, because I feel like there's no activities you really should just have around that. Like, I don't want to make it like a phony topic. So for those two, I'll ask the youth, like, what do you know? What have you heard before about race and gender? And they'll tell you. I've heard the white kid tell me, like, I've heard that I'm more valuable than you, or I'm more valuable than somebody who's darker skinned. So we actually have to access that, because we forget that youth are in a learning spot. I could never blame a youth for what they say, because they got it from grandpa, from grandma, from mom, dad, teachers, people that they see in their world. We first access what they know, then we challenge that. I think in small towns and in places in general, like, we feed off of the fact that we only support people we know, we only support people we agree with, we only support people who look like us. So our main question for the youth is, how do you treat people who don't look like you? So for us, it's more about helping them understand, like, that they're human, they're valuable. Like, I will never make them feel like they're not. Showing them that love, also while showing them the sternness. And education just doesn't always look fun. You know, sometimes we gotta talk about the hard things. We gotta talk about the racism, the sexism, why we choose to, as men, see women as less than us, why we choose to, you know, see people as color, as different values as us. We have those conversations. So when you think about, like, the demographic of people who are allowed to use their emotions, men are inherently going to be, right, more violent when you think about it. If a person is only allowed to use anger, but is not allowed to be sad, then that person is going to use that anger as a tool for them to feel better, whether that's harming their partner, whether that's putting somebody down, whether that's stepping on somebody's toes. It's not comfortable for a man to be emotional or to express those types of emotions. So my opinion of encouraging men just comes from, like, us opening that gauge of emotion, us just understanding that we do have an impact on the things that we do. You know, going to jail and coming out is not really helpful if you never understand what you do has a reaction, has an impact on not yourself, but people, families, children. You never really know. If you never access, like, that emotion of insecurity, you never really know how you started to be violent in the first place. Because I personally don't believe that nobody wakes up violent. I don't have a knack of violent people, good versus bad. I don't believe in that. He's like, I'm precise. Don't worry about it. I stay every day because of the youth that I work with, the youth that I have worked with, that I see now who are older. My description says, like, Boys Restorative Program, because that's kind of like the essence of what we talk about, is like masculinity, toxic masculinity, you know, healthy masculinity, how to challenge those things. If you're a parent, you know, and your daughter or girl-identified youth comes home with a permission slip that says boy, boy, boy all over it, you're not gonna send that back. You're not even gonna sign it. So we wanted to look at how do we make our group actually more inclusive to the youth who are not just male, because we can all learn how to be more healthier, let's be honest. It's not just a male-centered thing, it's everyone who can learn about being more healthier. It's everyone who can learn about how to treat people the right way, especially when they don't identify with how you identify. We say kids are our future, but we don't really do anything with it. Like, it's like a cliche. We'll say kids are our future, but we don't do anything until they're 18, and then it's like, here, take a job, find a career, figure it all out right now. But I want to be able to support youth before they get there, to support them in their early childhood traumas, to support them in things that they don't even understand, their emotions, and just support them in ways that just didn't exist. So Mega actually was a way for us to get all the youth in the room. It was a way for us to actually access and acknowledge all youth of all gender identities. So MEGA just stands for Making Equal Genders Awesome. It's also something that I believe in. So this is a saying, and now it's a part of our actual program. Every kid who wants to be supported should be supported, no matter what. So that's really what I've been doing for the past 6 years in general, is just being that person to be in front of youth development, showing youth, modeling the emotional response is just being the person that I am and assuring them that I'll be by their side, not in front of them, not behind them, but by their side through their life. Whether they need me academically, whether they need me like emotionally, mentally, whatever that may be.
Funding for Intersections is brought to you by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.